And we are live. Ron Harris here. Not going to say online editor or this or that. I'm just me, Ron Harris. I thank you for joining me on my not so new channel. I've had this channel since 2006 or 7, but haven't done anything with it in years and years. So thank you so much for joining me. This is Ask Me Anything. We're going to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. I'll answer anything I can help you with: training, nutrition, supplementation, life advice. If I can help. If not, I'll just say, dude, you're kidding the wrong guy. So actually, because it's a live chat, we already have some stuff to go answer here. So I say, how many days a week do I have to do cardio to live fat free? There's no blanket answer that's going to apply to everybody. If you have a high metabolism, you might not need to do much cardio at all. And if you eat very clean, other people who tend to gain fat more easily, to have a slower metabolism, you're probably going to have to do more cardio. If you're really watching your diet, you won't have to do a ton of cardio. If you're not taking in much more calories than your body needs for maintenance and to fuel muscle recovery and growth, you don't need much cardio. Most people can do pretty well on 3 or 4 days a week, 30 minutes, moderate pace, nothing crazy. Other people, if you have a slower metabolism, you might have to do upwards of 45 minutes to an hour, 6 days a week. I wouldn't recommend doing cardio 7 days a week. I always like to either do skip cardio on leg day or the day after leg day. One of those 2 days you should skip cardio just to let the legs recover and give your body a little bit of a break. But there's no blanket prescription like that as far as you have to do cardio X amount of days, because we're all different. We all have different metabolic rates, different situations. A thin teenage kid having a lot of trouble gaining any weight at all, I would say for that kid, no cardio. Don't do any cardio. Now you're talking to a 45-year-old man with a big belly. I would say that guy should be doing an hour cardio a day, because that's a point where cardio is going to be even more important than weight training in the overall scheme, the big picture of your health and longevity. Yeah, cardio, especially you younger guys, you look at cardio just as a way to burn fat. It does burn calories. It's a way to tip that calorie balance into the deficit instead of the surplus. So as you get older, you really should be doing cardio for the health of your heart and lungs, especially your heart, because as you know, when most bodybuilders develop health problems, it's heart related. I should say most men in general, the health problems that they will face later in life will be heart disease for the most part. So Churchill, no relation to Winston Churchill. Keep the content coming. But a few questions. Who's the most impressive bodybuilder ever seen in person? Who's the least? Well, the least, I mean, gosh. I've seen a lot of people that turn pro. I'm answering that one first. I say this and I sound like bitter or something, so I hope I don't come across that way. I've seen a lot of people who turn pro in Masters divisions, particularly Masters Classic Physique, when it was a really weak show where there's nothing aesthetically pleasing about their physique. It's not a physique that you would ever expect to see on a pro stage, but they happen to be either the only one that showed up in their class or the only one who was lean, so they got the win. Most impressive, I've seen so many, man. I mean, Ronnie Coleman at his prime was crazy in person. Victor Richards, who I was around a little bit in the 90s, he trained at my gym for a few months in Pasadena. That was a huge guy. Nasser El-Sambadi at his biggest in person. Greg Kovacs, although not impressive on a stage, horrible physique on stage, but in the gym, God, he was huge. He was 400 pounds, about 6'3", arms like this, chest out to here, just so wide and big. Huge human being. I mean, I've seen so many. Winstrol goes on to say, what opinion? You think if I ate like a bodybuilder, consistently spot on, and trained average just pump workouts, or ate average and trained like a beast, so which would have the better outcome? Both strategies suck. Winstrol. So I always try to explain it in the simplest ways possible. Think of this as a pyramid where you have, does that look like a pyramid? Not really, huh? So you have training, nutrition, and rest, recovery. 3 sides to a pyramid. If any of those sides is weak or lacking, the whole thing collapses, it falls apart. You want all of them to be optimized. So I've seen a lot of people that train very hard, but they don't eat enough. They don't make many gains. I'd say Geez, because if you don't train very hard, no matter how well you eat, you're not really training hard enough to stimulate gains. I mean, pump workouts, it's not really challenging the muscle. It's not putting enough stress on the muscle to force a growth adaptation. So I wouldn't say either one of those scenarios is going to have a very productive outcome in terms of producing a lot of muscle mass, which is, I'm sure, what you're after, right? Said says, good. I answered his question. Good. Okay, so Abhijit Nanda, my shoulder hurts every time I do any barbell press movement. I had a broken shoulder a couple of years ago. Yeah, I'm right there with you. My shoulders I need both of them replaced. So what I would try, obviously you could try, forget barbells. If anything really hurts you, try to find substitutes. You might still be able to do dumbbell presses because dumbbells allow you to sort of tweak your body positioning so you can get just the right track, the right motion track that doesn't hurt your shoulder. Whereas with a barbell, you have that bar, you're sort of locked into that one position. You really can't do much to change that. With a dumbbell, you can sort of tweak it. You can twist your hand like this grip. Also, machines can be your friend too. Machine presses overhead. You know, I'd still, believe me, my favorite shoulder exercise for decades, not just years, decades, was the seated dumbbell press. I was super strong. I love that movement. I think it gave me a lot of great shoulder mass. And I can even notice my shoulders don't have as much roundness and fullness now, even though I can still do plenty of laterals and everything, because I don't press heavy with dumbbells anymore. But I have been able to maintain a lot of the mass with machines. You would try to play around with different machines and different grips. For me, this grip, the neutral grip with the both hands facing in toward the body, that doesn't hurt my shoulder joint. This does if I go heavy. I can still go pretty heavy with my hands in this position. You might even want to try bringing them in closer so it's not as much strain on that joint. You got to play around with a lot of different things. You will find something that doesn't hurt and that you can still work the muscle. The shoulders very, very hard and reasonably heavy. So yeah, forget about barbells. You're probably never going to be able to press with those again. I'm not saying that to be a downer. It doesn't matter because there's so many tools at our disposal for weight training, for bodybuilding. You don't have to, the world doesn't end because you can't do one thing, barbell bench or barbell squat or whatever. There's so many options and alternatives. So now you want to know, can you win national bodybuilding contests with such impediments? Well, your training really has little to do with it. It's your physique. If your physique is the best on that day, and I don't know what country you're from. I don't know how close you look right now to, say, the last couple guys that won your national championship. I would take a look at them and see how you compare. Are they much bigger than you? Do they have much better structure and shape than you? Or are you kind of similar? The training, people get this all mixed up. They post all these videos saying, I'm going to win my pro card because I can do this weight for this reps. Well, that's weightlifting. That's powerlifting. That's really got no bearing on your physique development. We do like to see people who have great physiques who are super strong. Ronnie Coleman comes to mind. Guys who have both, they have that extra level of impressiveness because some people will not be impressed with a bodybuilder's physique if he can't lift the weights that they think he should. They think this guy is that big. He's way bigger than me. He should be way stronger than me. So if they see a guy who has twice the muscle mass of them, but he's not that much stronger on some things they see him doing in his training, they sort of get disgusted and go, well, he's all drugs. Some people don't need to train that heavy. Some people, they grow from, more moderate weight, higher volume, higher reps. We're all different. So if your shoulder is keeping you from making the gains that you need to make, your shoulder pain, whatever, if it's keeping you from taking your physique to that level where it would need to be to win a pro card in your country, wherever that is, if you want to let me know, then it could be a real problem. But like I said, unless it's a catastrophic injury, like there's in here, my cartilage is gone. There's no, yours was an AC shoulder joint, a broken shoulder. Yeah, that's not that bad. I mean, if you had torn labrum, rotator cuff tears, or worse, severe osteoarthritis, something that was going to prevent you from training the way you want to train and need to train, then you might have a real problem. But it sounds to me like you have issues that can be worked around. Divey from the old MD boards. What's up? Over in the United Kingdom, we have Giles Tiger Thomas. Giles saying hi on way out to Nando's. Nando's a great it's not fast food. It's like chicken and rice. It's a broiled chicken, like roasted chicken. Giles has been telling me about this place for years. I think he did take me when I went there in 2010, Birmingham. Yeah, we ate at a Nando's then. And then I didn't see another Nando's until I was in Brisbane, Australia earlier this year. We went in April just to visit my son who was out there for college. And they had a Nando's downtown Brisbane, and we ate there 2 or 3 times. Love that stuff. It's delicious. Off to see Napoleon. Oh, I hope it's good. I love Joaquin Phoenix, the actor. I think he's brilliant. It's Ridley Scott, the director. I haven't read any reviews. Ridley Scott, of course, did Alien and Prometheus. Great director. I don't know. I'm not into the historical dramas, but enjoy. Giles, is he doing content? Well, that's for him to answer, but I'm sure Giles is going to be doing plenty of content. Giles has a whole studio that he built in his home called On the Rise Media Studios. A room that he fully outfitted, blacked out all the windows. He's got lights rigged up in there, all kinds of cameras, computers. It's a legitimate podcasting studio that he built in his home. So I would be very surprised if he didn't start putting out content soon, because he's got a great setup. He's got a guy named Derek. Is it Clark? Derek's name? Derek's sort of his engineer and his co-host. He's got Lauren, his partner, who helps out a lot. She does shows. Yeah, they're going to start doing programming soon. I have no doubt. Mike's Man stuff. Hello, Ron. Mike Norway. Are you from Norway? Are you in Norway? It's late over there. Big fan of your work. I plan to guest some other podcasts. So many say they want to have you on as a guest. I have to be careful with that. I'll be honest. The one that, yeah, it's going to come up. It's going to keep coming up. People keep saying I should go on Dave Palumbo's RX Muscle, and it's nothing personal. Me against Dave, but Dave was so negative and horrible towards Steve Bleckman, who fired him like 15 years ago. Was it 15 years ago? It's been a very long time. It's well over 10 years. I want to say it's like 15 years ago. But, you know, he came out, he had a Bleckman puppet. He used to always make fun of him with doing an imitation of his voice. And, you know, him and Romano, they really went to town, putting him down and mocking him and insulting him for years and years. And I know that's not me, right? But Steve treated me well. Steve paid me. I made, over all those years I worked for Steve, I sort of added up in my head the other day. I made a lot of money with Steve. You know, as a kid, if you told me I was going to make that much money, even in the span of time, it was like, oh, wow, holy crap. It's a lot of money. So, you know, he gave me the opportunity to do this full time. Prior to that, I was writing for anywhere between 5 and 15 different magazines at a time, just scrounging for work. No, I had regular work, but it was, you know, I had to write for all these people, invoice them, keep track of who had paid me, who had not. And, you know, Steve gave me the opportunity early 2017 to be who would be the final online editor. I'm trying to think of who all the online editors we had. First online editor was Dave Palumbo. After that was Sean Andros for a little while. Robbie Durand, Adina Zanoli. Was David Bay after that? Did I miss anybody? And I would be the 6th and final online editor that MD had. So anyway, you know, they're saying, you know, you should be part of the Whack Pack and go on his after hours, all his shows. Well, I know Dave doesn't pay his guests, and that's okay. I didn't pay people to be on the Ron Line Report either, but I sort of need to focus my time and attention on things that are going to make me money at the moment, because I had a good paying gig and now I don't. So I need to, you know, I'm talking to people and I'm not worried. I have some work that's already starting to materialize. That I'll be starting on soon, but for the moment, I wouldn't. I'm just saying I wouldn't go on Dave's shows, not out of anything personal against Dave. It's just it would hurt Steve, and I don't want to hurt Steve. Even though people say, "Well, you know, this guy screwed you over," he just abruptly disbanded the company, broke it all up, and you know, he gave you guys no notice. But you know what? That's the world. That's the corporate world. It happens all the time. The fair, well, whatever. Is life fair? I mean, like I said, he treated me well. Stayed at some very nice hotels. Got to go all over the USA. A few trips to Canada, and yeah. So for that reason, I wouldn't go on Palumbo's show, out of respect to Steve. And if you don't agree with that, well, oh well, it's my life. Thanks, Ron. I'm Ron. Thanks, Ron. Better. I'd still have said ask anything. What do you think of the guys you worked with at MB? Dave Palumbo, for instance. I got along fine with Dave. You know, Dave was the online editor when I was still a contributor, just a writer. got on fine with Dave. You know, mutual friends. Obviously, we're both living the bodybuilding lifestyle, and we're both on the journalism side. Yeah, I never had anything personal against Dave. I still don't. He's never done anything to me. Well, you still have Dr. Chi on your channel. So what I'm trying to do right now is build up this channel, get some more subscribers. This is the last free video I have to do because my channel was monetized years ago. They took away my monetization eligibility years ago because I stopped putting up content. If you don't put up new content after like 90 days or something, I don't know the exact time frame, you're demonetized. You can't monetize your videos anymore. So I also want to start getting some sponsors. I'm going to get a sponsor. I'm not saying I'm going to try. I will get a sponsor for the Dr. T show because, you know, Dr. T and I, we became good friends. He's got a great platform. He's one of the only medical doctors in the world who can speak with authority on PEDs, PED use, how to keep yourself safer while using them, safer ways to use them. So yeah, it'll be coming back, and he's on board with it. I just need to get this channel going. So if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. Helps me out. Also, the thumbs up helps me out. Any comments you leave, it's all good. It's all good for YouTube. So I want to bring Dr. T back. And, you know, Ron Line Report. That's me. I mean, no one else can have a Ron Line Report, right? So yeah, I do plan to bring a lot more content than just these live things. I mean, obviously this is the easy thing to start with, which is why I did it. But it's certainly going to be. Wouldn't it be better to create a new channel? Well, this is a new channel. I mean, I don't think too many people watching this were looking at my channel with all the old ass videos. And I have the channel. It's already established. It's already got like a couple hundred video clips on it. I didn't see any reason to make a new channel. This one, it's my name. It's the easiest way to find me. How else would you find me? So yeah, I like this channel. So thanks for the idea, but no. Shout out to Big Ron from Connecticut. Connecticut is Hartford, Connecticut, part of New England. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think it's like you know, because it's borders on New York, and some of them sort of have the New York accent, but it's actually a New England state, which would encompass Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. I don't think I missed any. Yeah, that's all we call New England. I'm not sure. Giles is. One thing I saw Giles doing is he's getting his Olympia tours together. He's starting those up again. He had done those in the past with Brandon Curry, with Phil Heath. So he took them to, you know, all over gyms and supplement stores in the UK, and I think they did a couple in Spain with some of those guys. So he is starting that up again. I believe he's going to do one with Derek Lunsford. I think Ashley Kaltwasser, they did one, and they might do another one. He's also a contractor. He's been doing the Olympia Hype Show for the Olympia TV channel. Hasn't done anything new, and he still does work for Ronnie Coleman's channel. He does the Ronnie Coleman Nothing But a Podcast with Ronnie. So Giles always has, you know, a few irons in the fire. He's very much diversified with different media outlets, and very, very talented guy. Very good at what he does. Amazing journalist. Great eye for physiques. Serious passion for the sport. That's why I wasn't really worried about Giles. I'm not worried. We're going to land on our feet. We're good at what we do. Dave was also talking shit behind your back for no reason. I don't get it. Can you be more specific? Yeah, I mean, it's hard for Dave to separate me from MD to, you know, but he did say some weird things like, you know, Ron's so delusional. He probably thinks Steve's going to still pay him what he owes me. And that spurred me. That was one of their after hours a few days ago. That spurred me to actually leave a comment in the video saying, Steve doesn't owe me any money. I was owed almost six figures. It was close to $100,000 at the point when I took the full-time position in 2017, which I did not want. I was perfectly happy working for many different people and being independent, doing my own thing and having that freedom. But when I took the job, one thing that I got into my contract got added to the contract was to pay off that debt of, you know, invoices, a couple of years worth of invoices, a little bit at a time every week. And it's all paid off. It was paid off a couple of years ago. So Steve doesn't owe me any money. I wanted to make sure Dave and the rest of them knew that, because they could keep saying that over and over. If they harped on it, people would just assume they were correct. So I had to clarify that. Jay Cutler, Dave Palumbo said you're the best writer in the bodybuilding industry. Well, I definitely appreciate that very much. Yeah, I mean, Dave said some very nice things about me, and Romano did too. So I do appreciate that. Um, I don't like to be self-deprecating. The best writer there ever was the late Peter McGuff. I miss him dearly. I don't want to call him a father figure because I did have a father who passed away many years before, but he was really helpful to me, especially the first year or two, especially when I took the full-time position at MD in 2017 and 2018. He was such a rock, such a shoulder, not a shoulder to cry on, but I would call him up when I had things on my mind, and he always listened. He always had helpful advice, encouragement. Just a wonderful, warm, compassionate human being who was an amazing writer. He had a real gift for prose. I'm a good writer. I'm not a great writer. The reason I've done so well as a writer is because I write fast. I work very fast, not as fast as AI, but that wasn't around until just recently. But magazine editors like people that they can give an assignment to and don't have to worry about it. It's going to be done. It's going to be done well, and it's going to be done before the deadline. I got a good reputation for being very reliable. I could put out quality work quickly, and that's just very valuable because a lot of writers are procrastinators. You give them a deadline and they don't make the deadline. Well, in the world of magazine publishing, print magazines, which we were a print magazine, up until like a week ago, you have to make those deadlines. Things have to go off to the printer so that the magazine can be printed and shipped off distributed to all the different bookstores, whatever, newsstands, whatever. So that's how it was. Japan Pro Show lineup is 2 week. Well, do I think the Japan Pro lineup? I'm trying to think of the big names. I didn't see too many big names. I saw Theo was in it, Alfred Shiriak, Roman Fritz. So they have some really, really good European talent. Everyone wanted Nexzilla to jump in. Samson had already said, "I'm done." He's all set until the Arnold Columbus. It's a kind of a weak lineup. Yeah. The only thing that could be done to improve the quality of lineups would be to have less contests. But as I've said, they're not going to do that. They're not going to limit the number of shows because they get paid a sanction fee every time some promoter says, "Hey, I'd like to put on a pro show." IFBB Pro League says, "Okay." Well, first they want to establish this person has the capability to do it. And then once, things are set up, they pay a sanction fee. They get a sanction fee from the promoter. And, it's good to fans in Japan. They want to see some of these pros too. It gives them an opportunity. But the more pro shows you have, and especially if you spread them out over the year the way we are, it's hard to keep the lineups, quality lineups, because most of the Olympia guys now, they're done. Some of them were competing like from the spring on all the way through the Olympia in October. Or was it November? It was October, right? No, it was November, early November. So yeah, when you have the shows spanning throughout the whole year like that, especially the post-Olympia shows, the longer you go past the Olympia, the harder it is to have a solid lineup because these guys are done. I mean, these shows take a lot out of the athletes. It's a lot of prep, dieting, cardio, traveling, dehydrating. I mean, it's brutal. So yeah, that would be the only thing I can say is we would have to have less shows, and I don't see that happening. Where Michael shows make fun of him. Yeah, I didn't see him. I did see him. I saw Dave saying nice things about me. I didn't see him making fun of me, but I don't watch all the video. I don't have time. I realize, you have a lot of options. That's why I appreciate you guys watching me. You have so many options for content. You get Fawad, you got Nick Strength and Power, Desktop, you got on and on and on. If you watch all the content from all those outlets every day, that would be your whole day. It would, because some of these podcasts, like Bro Chat and After Hours, they go on for like 2 hours or more. So if you're watching a bunch of these on a consistent basis, you wouldn't have time for much else in your life. I don't do that. Good stuff in the works. Thank you. From the area, you've been to Marshfield before? Yeah, of course. Marshfield Fair. I think there's some beach in Marshfield I've been to. Yeah, it's just down Route 3 toward the Cape. I don't know. Is Marshfield technically Cape Cod? I know a lot of people don't consider it the Cape unless you pass over that Bourne Bridge, but I think Marshfield's considered the Cape. Well, we had Giles on the other day. Giles is going off to see a movie. I'm not going to have Giles on all my videos. It's like, I wouldn't expect that of him. He's got to get his own content going. But eventually when I do have different things going on, I certainly would collaborate with him, and he would, I told him anything you do on your channel, I'm down. Just you tell me when and I'm there. Mike's Man stuff. Let's support Ron All by fans. Subscribe. Thank you. Tell friends of this podcast. Top tips to listen to one cardio. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that, Mike. Yeah. Doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, guys. It's free. Josh had great analysis. Curious if you're still up on things like the Japan Pro. I actually just checked the lineup a few minutes ago, and I wasn't that impressed. A lot of athletes I've never heard of. I'm always going to follow the sport, whether I'm covering the contest or not. You know, I don't know how much contest coverage I'll be doing on my channel. Maybe someone will. There's other people, other organizations that do contest coverage that might want to utilize me because I think I'm pretty good at it. So we'll see. You know, there's a lot that still remains to be seen. Some funny story you could tell us? Well, no, I mean, the fact that I'm not working for anyone doesn't mean I'm going to start talking trash about people or, you know, give up people's dirty laundry. I wouldn't do that. No. I wouldn't, you know, I'm working for Muscle Tech. It's not like I'm not completely out of work, guys. I mean, I signed a deal with Muscle Tech back in early March. I do some writing for them, and I'm going to be doing a podcast for them probably in the next, it might not start until the new year. It might start a little before that. We're not sure. We still have things to figure out, but, you know, writing, they could only use my writing so much. Obviously, podcasts and YouTube, that's the future. That's where we're at now as far as content in the bodybuilding world. So I'll be doing a lot of that with their athletes for their channel. You know, there's a lot of things I could be doing with them, and we'll see. But that's one thing. So I'm not completely out of work. I do have that deal with Muscle Tech. I'm still working for somebody. But you know, MD was my main gig. That was my full-time job. Muscle Tech would be like a side hustle, if you want to call it that. Something I did on the side. Only show coverage depends run online. Thank you. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. You know, there's other people that do great analysis, so I wouldn't say I'm the best. But I think when me and Giles are together, you'd be hard pressed to find better physique analysis. And I give Giles a lot of the credit for that. He's got an amazing eye for physiques. He notices things a lot of times that I don't. Sometimes I notice things that he doesn't also. But you know, he'll point out, you know, did you look at his back? And I'll go, oh yeah, it's kind of weak. Some things that I'll miss, and he'll point out, or you know, strong points too. We're not just shitting on physiques, guys. Wouldn't do that. Cool guests are ZKK. Yeah. Zach is an awesome guest. He's been on MD Global Muscle Giles' show many times. I'd love to have him on. Platts. I'd love to get Platts on. He's kind of a challenge. Lee Priest, Kevin Levrone, Sean Ray. Yeah. Coworker. Nick Strength and Power. How is Nick my coworker? I admire the hell out of Nick Miller. I think he's done an amazing job with his channel. Worked super hard, found his niche. He delivers a very recognizable format that his viewers have come to sort of expect. This is what we're going to get with the Nick, you know, with the Nick Strength and Power video. And he does a fantastic job with it in this channel. That's why he has over like 1.5 million subscribers. But no, we're not co-workers. I don't know how. Can you elaborate why you thought he was a co-worker? What's up, everyone? Hey, Ron. James Gary from my gym. My opinion, the most reliable in following sports is at least 1995, 30 years. So a little longer than that, Mark. I started following the sport in the fall of '87. That's when I started buying the magazines. You know, the Olympia and all that, following the winners and so forth, the sport itself. And I started working in the sport January of 1991 out in California with a company called American Sports Network that did bodybuilding coverage for ESPN. They had a monthly show on ESPN called American Muscle. So 1991, I distinctly remember the first pro bodybuilding show I ever went to was with them as coverage with, you know, video cameras and everything at the 1991 Ironman Pro Invitational. The winner was a guy named JJ Marsh. I think 92 was Vince Taylor. Yeah, and that was my first Olympia that year. I was in Orlando, 1991, and our company, American Sports Network, we were contracted to do the 1 hour special of the Olympia, Mr. Olympia, for ESPN. So that was my first Olympia. So 1991, it's been 32. Geez, in January, it'll be 33 years I've been working in the industry like that on the media side. Perfect time to work on a tell-all book. Nah, I don't have, you know, I do have some dirt, of course. I mean, but there's people's secrets, things that people told me in confidence, or things that people told me that I know that they wouldn't be pleased if the public got a hold of them to, for general consumption. So I'm really not interested in like doing a dirt book where I just, a scandal type of book telling about, this guy slept with that girl and that girl slept with that girl and this judge and that promoter and this supplement company owner and this bodybuilder did these. And nah, I mean, that's just so negative, so cringy. It's not, I honestly don't have that much dirt. I mean, some of the dirt just these people ended up just sort of imploding anyway, like Titus. So, what am I going to say? I will say about Titus, because Titus was captured over here, less than a mile away from where I'm sitting right now. And I knew Craig since 1991. We were coverage, NPC Iron Maiden contest in California. So I was out there doing coverage and he won. My boss used to fly out ringers, the best guys from all over the country and sometimes from other countries, to just do these local shows or regional shows that we were covering for our TV show. So he brought in Craig Titus, this young new guy from the Houston, Texas area, I think he was, and he won the heavyweight and overall at 202 pounds. I always remember that because I'm like, wow. Light heavyweight was 198 and a quarter. He was only a few pounds over that. And he beat everybody. So, yeah, I'm going to continue. So, yeah, Raymond, it's not a horrible idea. It's just I don't want to do that. Favorite back exercises, I would say any kind of row. I love rows. I used to love rack deadlifts. My lower back can't handle them anymore. Rack deadlifts are, those partial deadlifts you're supposed to go just below the kneecap up. And, of course, it's not a full movement from the pulling off the floor, so you can go a lot heavier. And I used to go 6, sometimes 7 plates on each side for that. The range of motion is only like this. So I used to love that. But now I would say dumbbell rows on an incline bench, face down with the bench supporting me. I do them one arm. Sometimes I do them 2 arm. I like the hammer strength rowing machines. There's a couple other older ones. Flight. Our gym has a lot of older pieces, like from the 90s. I like a lot of those. But rows, I'd say rows. I like pull downs too, but I'd say rows because I'm still very strong. It's I happen to like the things I'm still good at. The shoulders, they prevent me from doing heavy pressing, but they don't stop me from pulling heavy. So I still like to do pull heavy. This is Nick. Nick with Muscle Tech. If he is, they might sponsor his channel. I'm just curious. I'll tell you right now. It's on his Instagram, it would be there if it was. Nick Strength and Power. Okay, so his bio, Muscle Tech. He's got discount code. And yeah, I if they have like a commercial at the beginning of the show, then I guess we're co-workers if we work with the same company. But he does his own thing. I certainly would love to collaborate with him. He's a great kid. I say kid. I think he's 29 or 30, but to me that's a kid. I mean, I have a daughter that'll be 30 in April. Yeah, but okay. Now I see he's got a discount code just like I do. Samson, Ron, maybe get some interviews by some past people who've not heard from in years. Thought of this. That's not a bad idea, Samson. The thing is, when you get used to drinking like 2 gallons of water a day, then you need to keep drinking 2 gallons of water a day. So when I did that with Ronline, when I would have like bodybuilders from the past, the views were usually not very good. I find that the bigger names and the more relevant names, like if I got an interview with Neckzilla right now, it would get crazy views because he's like the talk of the town. He's the flavor of the day. Whereas if I go back and did like someone like I just said, like a JJ Marsh, somebody that was a top competitor, 30 years ago, I don't think the views would be that great. They were never that great on Ronlines when I had older guys in the past, unless it was like someone like a Sean Ray or a Kevin Leveroni. That would be different. They still got really good views. But if it's someone that wasn't like a huge name, it's always based on who's popular at the time, or some people they haven't competed many years, like Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, but they still have a huge following, and people will watch them wherever they appear. But a lot of the other older guys, they don't get a lot of views because a lot of the younger people have no idea who they were and no interest in YouTube and the podcasting. It's a young man's game. It's, if you want to succeed, you have to appeal to the younger generation, the 16 to 24-year-olds, really. That's your main demographic. I mean, you look at the popularity of someone like a Bumstead, 20 million followers, a lot of young fans, Sam Sulek, this guy's popularity is through the roof right now. Very young fans, mostly teenagers, guys, maybe in the early 20s, but mostly teenagers. Those are the people that follow him. So if somehow I ever got like a Sam Sulek interview, I'm sure I get some awesome views on that. But yeah, Dennis James already does that with his old school podcast. Yeah, I think John Hansen has like I think his is called the Legends podcast. They do great jobs. And, Dennis does that with a lot of his old friends from the old days. He does a fantastic job with it. I wouldn't be averse to the idea. We're not there yet. From Ron Line Gossip. Yeah, I don't like gossip, Anything that I don't feel physically like good about, you usually we have a gut instinct for when things are right or wrong, right? So gossiping, talking behind people's back, putting people's dirty laundry out there, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I don't feel right doing it. Sometimes I've had to do reports. Obviously when I was online editor and there was breaking news, and unfortunately the past few years, a lot of the breaking news was death. Somebody had died, and I hate making those reports, but it's news. If you're watching Fox News or CNN or your local news, or people don't really watch TV anymore, do like they used to for news, but when someone dies, a celebrity, it's reported on. That's news outlets have to report on celebrity deaths, especially, if I'm in the bodybuilding industry and some guy who was a famous bodybuilder passes away, I'd be remiss in my duties if I didn't report on it. I mean, I'm supposed to keep you guys in the loop, but people get very angry saying, you're a vulture, you're profiting, you're a ghoul, you're profiting off death. And I'm like, my job is to report it. I was working for MD. I wasn't personally profiting. I'm getting paid a salary every week, regardless of what I reported on or didn't. But my job was to be a reporter, to try to stay current and relevant as possible. So, yeah. But as far as gossip, I mean, Nick does it. Nick Strength and Power, I wouldn't call it gossip, but as far as like, a lot, there's rumors that swirl around that sometimes they end up being true and sometimes they don't. If there's something to substantiate it, at least partially, Nick will report on it. He does a great job. Do you think Nick Walker will jump into the New York Pro if he's forced to qualify for the Big O next year? I don't know. I don't know if he'd be ready. I don't know if he'd feel like it was enough time for him because he just tore the quad in late October. Sorry, the hamstring, and he also tore part of his calf, I believe, was partially torn. So I don't know how long it's going to take him to get back to normal leg training. And then from there, I assume he's going to go back into an off-season mode. He already said he didn't want to do the Arnold. If he has to qualify, my guess would be that he would try to consolidate the prep and do a show close to the Olympia. Take on gambling on the chances he's going to win and qualify rather than prep twice. Most guys do not want to prep more than once in a year. They don't want to have to diet down and do all that more than once in a year if they don't have to. So if he could do a show that was just a month out from the Olympia, say 4 weeks or something, 5 weeks, and win that and qualify, that would make a lot more sense than something that was 6 months, 4 or 5, 6 months away from the Olympia to try to qualify. And then he's got to go off season. He's got to start all over again with the prep. So he might do it. I think I believe Nexzilla is going to do it. Steve told him. Steve Weinberger suggested to him in, where were they all just now? What country were they all just competing in? Not Romania. What was after that? Prague. Told him in Prague to do a show. I think that'd be a great show for him. I was going to say pro debut, but Prague was his pro debut. He took third. You should have a podcast with Mike Van Wyck. Mike's already on a couple podcasts. I love Mike's. He's very blunt. He's very opinionated. He can come across as like brash and abrasive because he just doesn't hold back. He's not worried about hurting people's feelings or offending people or, pussyfooting around and walking on eggshells the way a lot of us are, trying to be politically correct and not offend anyone, not upset anyone. He doesn't care. And he's very, very opinionated. Great trainer. He trains Drake, trains a lot of people. Very, very brilliant when it comes to like exercise mechanics, figuring out little ways to tweak exercises to hit the muscle in better ways. Interesting fact about Mike, when he was about 1/3 the size he is now, I beat a lot of people when they were nowhere near as good as they eventually became. I beat them in their early stages of their careers. Mike, who's Canadian, was attending college in Boston in, was it the 2002 or 2005 New England? One of those New Englands. He was in the heavyweights with me, and he placed down the line. But he was just a kid. He was just starting out. I mean, eventually he turned pro a few years later, and he was way bigger. So when I say I beat a lot of guys who turned pro, most of them didn't look like that when I beat them. I'm being honest. So I'm not saying like I'm better than all these guys that are pros. So no, I was better than them when they were just starting out, but they got way better, and I didn't. That was like at my peak. I beat them at my peak when they were nowhere near their peak yet. But still, I could say, hey, I beat that guy. So I probably, over the years of 24 years of competing, I probably beat 20 guys or more that eventually turned 30 guys. I don't know how many it is, but it doesn't matter. Who cares? If you beat someone when they were just starting out, if you beat them when they're off or at their worst, does it really count? Probably not. John Hansen did a recent tribute to Chris Dickerson. Curious what he thought. Like, did he beat Arnold in the 80 Olympia? The 80 Olympia, I think a few guys beat Arnold based on the photos that I saw. Arnold was smaller than normal. He was in really good condition. Legs were weak. Back was weak. It wasn't the same Arnold because he had just sort of regained a bunch of muscle that he had lost, which is kind of similar to the situation in 1975 when he did Pumping Iron. He had just filmed Stay Hungry, and he had downsized for that role, and he had to put muscle back on for the Olympia that year. 1980, he was training for Conan, the first Conan, and production got delayed. So he's like, well, I'm already in good shape. Why don't I just keep training and do the Olympia? But he didn't tell anybody. So who won that Olympia that year? There was guys like Chris Dickerson in the lineup that looked probably better to me than him. I think Zane, Mike Menser. Yeah, it wasn't his greatest victory. That's why people still talk about it to this day, because fans aren't stupid. Fans can have eyes. They know when somebody shouldn't have placed as highly as they did or as low as they did. Brian Dobson on the Most Muscular podcast. So Brian was the guy who owns Metroflex Gym in Texas. He discovered Ronnie Coleman and was his mentor in the beginning. On the Most Muscular podcast, telling a story about Coleman's fart smelling so bad backstage, everyone would give him the nickname the Nuke. Those kind of stories are so funny. Yeah, well, a lot of bodybuilders. Anybody who eats 5, 6, 7 times a day and protein shakes, and especially contest diets, if you're eating more vegetables, a lot of fiber, you're going to have horrible gas. Horrible. I still have horrible gas from time to time. But in the years when I used to eat raw broccoli, like for some reason I thought that every meal I was supposed to have vegetables. I think Perillo had sort of put that in my head, John Perillo. So I used to eat raw broccoli, I think with 3 or 4 of my meals as like dessert, basically. A big head of raw broccoli or cauliflower. And oh my goodness, the gas was just horrific. Like it was knocking me out and my poor wife. Did you know Rich Piana? What do you think made him successful on YouTube? I didn't know Rich. It's one of those things where you always think, well, I'll meet him. I'll talk to him at the next show, or I'll have time to talk to him at the next show. I'll get to know him. Never got that chance. He passed away in 2017. I think it was a couple weeks after Dallas, right? Dallas McCarver. I didn't know him. What made him so successful on YouTube? I think people appreciated his honesty. He was full of synthol or whatever. But he talked about the gear use. He talked about the drugs that he took. Full doses. He didn't hold back on anything. He had a great personality. And he was so jacked. He had the look that like every skinny teenage boy or, every young guy who's insecure about himself wishes they could look like that. He was like 6 foot, 280, completely tattooed up. 24-inch arms. I had a bunch of crap in him. Shoulders, huge shoulders, bunch of crap in him. But, he looked like a big cartoon character, a big, almost like an action hero or something. So it was a hyper masculine sort of archetype that I think most young guys would gravitate towards. And he talked to people with that honesty. So they sort of saw him as like a big brother figure, these young guys, when they watched him. And those were mostly his fans, was young guys. So he got a huge, huge following. He still has, what are we at, 6, 7 years after his death? Still a lot of people watch his videos and talk about him and post pictures up of him. So, Yeah, he carved out a niche for himself for sure. Had a huge fan base. Yeah, I would say it was a combination of he had a good personality, just down to earth way of speaking. He just came across as really genuine and honest, and didn't take himself too seriously. You know, it was a great package for a YouTube star, which is why he was. Did I ever compete in the same shows as Palumbo or Piana? No, I did not. Piana didn't do that many shows. I know he won the NPC California. I think he did a couple national shows. He didn't compete that much. I think at a certain point he realized structurally and everything, he wasn't going to be the greatest bodybuilder. Standards were much higher back then. It was harder to turn pro. That's why Palumbo never turned pro. By today's standards, he would have turned pro, but there were much fewer opportunities. They weren't giving out many pro cards back then. For example, USA championships in the first 7, 8, 10 years that I went to it, okay, there was only 2 divisions. It was men's bodybuilding, women's bodybuilding. USA, we're talking. At the end of the night, one bodybuilder, the overall champion in each, 2 people turned pro, 1 man and 1 woman. 2. Fast forward to 2023, you have 10 different divisions at the USA. 10 different divisions, and each one of those has a bunch of height classes and weight classes. A lot of times the top 2 in every. So you're cranking out between, I think, like 55 and 75 pros now. 55 and 70, something like that. It's between 50 and 70 at every single national show. Nationals, USA, North America, and Masters Nationals, Masters USA, even the Junior USA and the Junior Nationals, which were never pro qualifiers in the past, never. Now they are in all divisions except bodybuilding, ironically enough. You have amateur Olympias, you have Arnold amateurs, you have a lot of these shows like the Japan, they have Japan Pro Qualifier, Romania Pro Qualifier. There's just so many pro qualifiers now. But no, I never competed in those same shows. Best supplements for joint-related damage. I mean, I stopped. I haven't had it in a while. Like a joint formula with chondroitin, glucosamine, MSM, sharp cartilage. I think if you catch your joint problems early enough that those things can help, but I think if you go past a certain point of damage, it's like you're past the point of no return where supplements aren't going to do anything for you. I mean, if you have really bad arthritis, there's no supplement in the world that's going to reverse the arthritis. I mean, it's bone grinding on bone, and you have that inflammation, and the cartilage is gone. I mean, you could look into like stem cell therapy and so forth, but I don't think if your joints are in really bad shape, I don't think there's any supplement you could take that's gonna help you out too much. Tips on kicking dumbbells up for shoulder presses. Pushing the way up getting dumbbells. Yeah, that becomes a huge problem once you start getting very, very strong. I'm gonna try to find. I'm gonna try to find something for you guys. If you bear with me a moment, I'm gonna go to YouTube and I'm gonna show you how I did it. Yeah. I know it's ridiculous. View your channel, videos. I think it was like one of my last videos. It was shoulder presses. I'm only showing you because it showed. I do remember kicking up the dumbbells in this video, so you can see how I did it. Twisting incline dumbbell press. No. Let's see. Was it 120s on dumbbell press? I'm trying to find the video, guys. No, that's not me. That's not me. Seated dumbbell press. What did I call it? 120. I think I called it 120. Seated dumbbell press. 120 times. It was like 15. 14. Let's see. I should have had it queued up, but I didn't know this question was coming. I gotta find it. I'll find it, guys. I know it's there. So let's go videos. So this is all on the same channel. I had a bunch of training clips with really bad quality really bad quality camera. It was this flip phone thing. I gotta find it. Where the heck is it? I got a lot of training clips on here. The quality is not great, but you can see what I was doing because it's a lot easier for me to show you than it's for me to tell you. Where is it? Wow, this is old videos. Jeez, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. These are old, these videos. Really old. Because if I could show you how I get them up on my thighs and I sort of flip them. I kick them up. Gosh. I wish I could have had it queued up instead of doing this for you guys. 130 times 5. No, that's not a good one. I'm sure that I could tell you right now that probably sucked. Well, maybe it'll show you how I got them up. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to go back here and pause it. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I got these 130s up, which it was too much weight. It was too much weight. I was being a moron, but I'll show you how I got it. So here it goes. So I got the 130s up. Oof. My shoulder hurts just looking at this. Look at my fat head. D-ball right there. Swearing to myself. Oof. God, no wonder my back hurts. So I started to arch my back and horrible. Yeah. Believe me, I'm not bragging on this set. It was a lot of weight, but that was awful. And then, oh, shit. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah. Popular. Maybe it was one of the most popular ones. I don't know. Because if I could show you the proper way I did it, because 120s I could do with ease, but then when I got to 130s, it was like way too much. Maybe I'll show you these. Did I do it on this one? Yeah, are we still on? Yeah. This is just showing you how I got them up. So I did it the same way every time. It was like a hip thrust. Hip thrust. I wouldn't recommend that. Don't do that. Don't try that at home, guys. Wow. So that's how I did it. Today's era would be classic or physique. You have Jared winning. I mean, I had good classic shape when I was natural. I wasn't big enough yet. I still didn't have the size. But when I was natural, I had pretty good shape. I'll try to show you. I'll show you some pictures from my old school album. Photos, go to old school album. That's the old ass pictures. What the heck? Photos, great view. Why can't I see the pictures? Oh, there we go. Albums, old school. What the heck is that? Oh, okay, gotcha. So, try to show you the best example. I think it was a collage. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so this was a kind of classic look I used to have. Yeah, shape was pretty good. Wasn't big enough, so it was about 182 pounds right there at 5'8". Yeah, I mean, I had pretty good shape. Once I got bigger, my waist got thicker. You know, my arms never got much bigger than this. So my arms didn't look small back then because my midsection was still small and tight, and I had a much better V taper. As I got bigger and bigger over the years, yikes, it got bigger. That was on gear. I was starting out. Yeah, my waist was already big right there. Archer pose. Anyway, yeah. Let's get rid of that. Stop screen. So I don't know. I wouldn't be an open bodybuilder. I wouldn't be physique because I never had that small of a waist. To be great at physique, men's physique, you have to have a really small waist, really small. My waist was never tiny. You have to have super wide shoulders and a tiny waist, and then put a bunch of muscle on your shoulders, your upper back, your arms, your chest. and, keep the waist very small, which my waist got huge. Why does some former bodybuilders shrivel up while others remain in tremendous shape? Is gear, prior usage? Well, they were all used to use gear. I mean, Frank Zane used gear, Robbie used gear. Some people, they're not trying to be big. And I think it's genetic. Some people will carry more muscle mass as they get older than others will. I think, we're all different metabolisms and different aging. Why do some people look awesome at 70 years old? Like, wow, that guy or girl, that woman, they look great. And others look like, oh my God, they look like they're 1,000 years old. Genetics. But yeah, some of these guys, I'm not saying this about Robbie, but there are some guys that are on, if you're on TRT, if you're still taking testosterone, you're going to hold a lot more muscle mass even into your much older years than you would otherwise. Because by the time you're 70, 75 years old, unless you're on TRT, most guys would have very, very low testosterone. There probably are some genetic outliers, like Robbie Robinson might not be on TRT. That might be still his natural testosterone levels might be high enough for him to still carry a substantial amount of muscle. Whereas Frank Zane, maybe not. And you got to remember, Frank was never that big. Frank was competing anywhere between 185 to 200 pounds at his biggest. He was never more than 200 pounds at like 5'9". Robbie was bigger. Robbie probably about the same height, 5'8" or 5'9". I want to say Robbie was 220, 225. He was a much bigger guy, carried a lot more mass. So Robbie's not as big as he used to be. And neither is Frank, but they both had different mass levels in the past. That's my live donation. How do I do that? Well, I think I can't. This is my last free video. I couldn't monetize the channel until I posted some new content. So today's the last day where I can't monetize anything. After this, I can get that going again. But thank you. Great idea. I appreciate you bringing that up. Why is he overrated? Well, Ruben, I mean, he's not, for one, his sponsor's not the only person who speaks highly of him. Milos, his coach, Giles. I mean, he was third in the world. The judges deemed him third best bodybuilder in the world. He won the Arnold Classic. I mean, if you don't care for his physique, that's your prerogative. You don't have to love every physique. But I wouldn't say he's overrated. I mean, who's overrated would be a term you'd use if somebody was really not that good, but they were spoken of in terms as if they were just amazing. And I wouldn't say that Samson is being overhyped or overrated. I think he's well deserving of his accolades. He's got the achievements to back it up. He's done very well at the Olympia. And he's won the Arnold. A lot of people think he's definitely got future Mr. Olympia potential. So I wouldn't say he's overrated. Since Class Act opens up the UK market like Dorian did. I don't think they care about the market anymore. That was in the days when Joe Weider owned it's still called Joe Weider's Mr. Olympia. But in those days, it was all tied into one company, really. Weider had the magazines. They had his supplement company. He made equipment. So that's when market meant a lot more. Like who wins the Olympia now? You talk about marketability. What does that even matter? What does it matter when they're not selling anything except the Olympia? You're going to go to the Olympia regardless if the winners from UK or USA or Iran or Egypt. Olympia is the Olympia. It's got its established loyal fan base of people that are going to come from all over the world, buy the VIP packages. They love the experience. They go every year. They look forward to it. It's a big deal. So I don't think it matters anymore where the athletes are from. Does muscle mass raise creatinine levels? Yeah, well, it's not the muscle mass. I don't think it's the muscle breakdown from every time you train. So that's why they say if you want to show your true creatinine levels, well, if you want to show lower creatinine levels in a blood test, you should not train for probably a good 5-6 days before you get blood work done. Then your creatinine is going to be much lower. For those of you who might have access to like free blood work anytime you want it, and there are some of you have that capability, just as a goof, as an experiment, get your blood work done on a regular day when you've been going to the gym, like maybe that day or the day before, you've been consistently weight training, versus take a week off weight training, go get your blood work again. I guarantee you your creatinine is going to be significantly lower that time. So it's not the muscle mass, it's the muscle breakdown damage that the byproducts that come out from that the kidneys have to filter out through your blood. That's what raises your creatinine. Do you think $60 price for a pre-workout is worth the cost of you guys paying? Where is it $60 for a pre-workout? What pre-workout are you taking? My God, Tomas. If you don't have money for a pre-workout, I've been using them for years and I love them. I rely on them. But before pre-workouts existed, I drank coffee. The main ingredient, effective ingredient in most pre-workout formulas is caffeine. So, yeah, they have a lot of other things in them now too, of course, beta-alanine, citrulline, this and that, other things to enhance your performance while you train. But the stimulant is generally caffeine, or various types of caffeine, different types all in one product. So coffee, I used to drink just Folgers instant coffee. I would microwave a plastic mug. This is when I worked at that TV production office, American Sports Network, because I used to train up in Pasadena. It was about a 15-minute drive up, through the streets after work. I would drink that. I would microwave that, mix in my fake sugar, sweet and low, and my Folgers instant coffee. It was like so thick and syrupy. I used to put like 2 big heaping tablespoons in. My teeth would be like brown. But I would drink that on the way to the gym. By the time I got to the gym, I was already like breaking a sweat because my body temperature was going up. And I was like, I was wired. I was ready to go. And I used to have crazy workouts. I mean, my leg workouts back in the day, man. I look back and like, how did I even do that? Some of the stuff I think about now, I'm like, wow, how did I do that? Squat in one workout alone, I'd be doing like squats, hack squats, leg presses, lunges, extensions, leg curls. Oh my God. Supersets, drop sets, forced reps. Oh, my legs hurt now just thinking about it. But I still don't. I want to know where are pre-workouts $60. You should be able to get like the one I use for Muscle Tech, Euphoric. It's like $30 for a jar that'll last you 30, 40 workouts at a scoop, I think. Given Nick Walker so devoted to bodybuilding, do you think he'll have the energy to give to his online coaching business for a good deal of coaching? I honestly have no idea. I can't say how. I mean, he's devoted to bodybuilding, but bodybuilding it's the meal, it's the workout. He trains maybe 2 hours a day at the most, and the other times of the day that are devoted to bodybuilding are just eating, like I do, like most of you do. So he should have plenty of time to devote to online coaching. Is $400 a good deal? I don't know. I mean, I charged less than that when I was doing it. The only reason I got away from it, I didn't have the time, and I was working with local people. A lot of them wanted to come train with me all the time, or just they didn't want to do their check-ins on the phone. They wanted me to see them in person, which is fine if that's your full-time gig, but it wasn't. It was like a side thing for me. And it was taking up too much of my time and starting to really make it tougher for me to do my full-time job, which is why I sort of got away from it. But if I did it now, I would prefer to do online people that I'm never going to see, just because then, I don't feel obligated to try to meet up with them, which is fine. If that's your full-time thing and you have time and you want people to come train with you all the time, I don't even want to train with people because I'm so banged up, so injured. I can't do a lot of the things that I would want my clients to do. So I'm telling them to deadlift and squat and do this and that, and I can't do it. So if we're trained together, I can't do those things. They're going to have to train like an old banged up 54-year-old man, which isn't doing them a disservice, I think. Mark says, it's too easy to say, oh, it's just genetic and TRT. Chris Corsi, no, saw Robbie eating crap ever. But I don't. If you're comparing to Frank Zane, saying why he looks way better than Frank Zane, I don't think Frank Zane eats poorly. So I think Frank Zane eats just as well as Robbie. I'm guessing. So I don't think it was disrespectful what I said. Why do 2 guys who are of similar age, who still train hard and still eat well, why does one look better than the other? What else could it be other than genetics? What else could it be? Does he train that much harder, eat that much better? Maybe he does, but people ask me why he looked better than Frank Zane, and that's what came to mind. They both still train. They both still, Zane's always posting things up. So, of course, I give Robbie his respect. The only issue I have with Robbie, it's not an issue. It's just he's very bitter about, that he never got his proper dues, proper financial compensation, which I get that because, he grew up He came up in an era with guys like Arnold, who made millions of dollars. Even as a bodybuilder, he made a lot of money. And I'd be upset too. Let's see, incredible genetics also. Oh yeah, when I talk about people that have gifted genetics, I'm not trying to take away from the fact that they work hard, but the difference is when you have great genetics, you get much better results from the same hard work that someone with lesser genetics could do. Meaning, some of you out there could do everything, work as hard as I have, as long as I have, and not look as good. You never look as good as me because you don't have as good genetics. And my genetics were just slightly above average. Then you have someone like on a whole other genetic level. I did everything they did. The training, the drugs, the food, everything they did. Why did they look so much bigger and better than me? Genetics. Genetics, they have they are a huge determining factor in the way you're going to look. It's an inconvenient truth. It's the reason a lot of guys turn to mega doses of drugs because they think that's going to make up for poor genetics. Nothing can replace awesome genetics. If you have awesome genetics, you won't need to work anywhere near as long and hard as other people, and you'll still look way better than them. I've said this before. Great bodybuilder genetics, they're not common. It's true that most people will never they will never invest the time and the effort consistently over a long enough period to really maximize their genetic potential. That being said, I could still go into a crowded gym, and I've said this before. Take me to a crowded gym. Look out on the gym floor. I'll find, even if there's 100 people on the floor working out, I'll just find 2 or 3 at the most where I say, that guy, that girl, that guy. Those are the ones with the great genetics because it's not a common thing. And you can say, well, they worked hard and they worked. Yeah, but there's a lot of other people on that gym floor that probably worked as long and as hard. I'm not saying they all did. Of course not. Of course not. Most people will never be that dedicated and devoted to really figure out if you have good genetics. But if you take a bunch of people and they all train hard, as equally hard, eat equally well, rest and recover equally well. Let's say they're all on the same drugs. The ones with the best genetics, the elite genetics, they're going to look much different than the other people. It's not fair. Oh, well. Is it fair that some guys are 5 feet tall and other guys are 7 feet tall? Is it fair that some guys look like a troll and other guys look like Adonis? No, but it is what it is. It's just the luck of the draw, genetic luck of the draw. So when I say that, I'm not trying to take away these people with the great genetics. Of course, they worked long and hard to look like that. But if they didn't have those genetics, it wouldn't have mattered. They would not look like that no matter how long or hard. So a lot of you guys out there, you wonder why these guys, you think it's all drugs. You're like, well, why does this pro body look so much better than me? I train hard. I've been training hard for years. I eat so much good food. I take all supplements. I take drugs, but I must need better drugs or some secret drug that they have. No, there's no secret drug. I mean, yeah, these guys do take high doses of drugs, a lot of them, sure. Not denying that, but you could take those because I've known plenty of guys that took high doses of growth hormone, steroids, insulin, IGF, people that had money and time. Some of these people were like semi-retired. They had plenty of time and money to devote to bodybuilding. They could train when they wanted, eat as much great food as they wanted. Meal prep companies delivering all their meals, all the drugs in the world, great coaches, and they still didn't look that great because they just didn't have the genetics. So, you thoughts of moving to Australia? No. I love Massachusetts. I love my house. It's not a mansion, but I've been here since 2001, and I love it's my home. I don't want to leave my home. I love the USA. It's not what it used to be, but it's my home. I wouldn't leave. Show what you made monthly with Muscular Development. No, that's like a no. We don't do that in America. We don't share our income. I made, 6 figures can be anything from 100,000 to 999,999. I made 6 figures a year with MD. I made more money before when I was writing for all the magazines, because magazines were still a huge thing. There was no social media yet. YouTube wasn't a big thing yet. So I was making a lot of money for a few years, a lot more money. So I was making very low 6 figures with MD, and I was making slightly higher 6 figures when all the magazines were still being published. And you know, people were still buying and reading magazines because they didn't have YouTube and they didn't have Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff. HD Hospital sits. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I've never used any of their pre-workouts, so I can't tell you if they're worth it or not. You know, try a few different ones, see which one you like. But there's a lot of good quality pre-workouts out there. Like I said, I've been using Euphoric from Muscle Tech. I love it. The Boogeyman Punch. So, you know, there's a discount code on my Instagram, Ron Harris Muscle. You can buy it there, but it's like $30, $35, I think at the most. Jay at 21, straight mind-blowing, insane, dry ass genetics. Yeah, Jay Cutler, by the time he was 21, 22, he looked very close to how he would ultimately look. He got bigger over the years, but by the time he was like 22, he was very, very impressive, Jay Cutler. He was way better than most guys could ever be at 21. Favorite chest exercises? Well, Blue Magic, they used to be. Before my shoulders went to shit, I used to love incline dumbbell presses and flat dumbbell presses were definitely my favorites. I also like the hammer strength machines, incline press, the flat press, the wide press. Right now, I have to use machines mostly, almost all machines. I still love pec flies. I can still do pec fly machines very heavy because the shoulder isn't moving in a way that compromises it, hurts it. But pressing machines. But back in the day, I'd say I used to love barbell inclines too. I never really liked flat barbell incline, but flat barbell press. But the incline barbell press, I used to love those. I still do Smith incline presses and flat Smith presses. But in my heyday, when I could do any exercise I want, I got the best results from flat and incline dumbbell presses. Those were my two favorite for sure. Comment section, Ruby Almosquera, the most liked comment is 30, 40 IU minimum. Yeah, nobody's doing 40 IUs of growth a day. That's just overkill. I can't remember who it was, but they had their blood tested, taking like 8 or 10 IUs a day versus like 20. And the IGF levels were the same, meaning it didn't make any difference beyond a certain point. So if anyone's using 40 IUs, they're just wasting a lot of money, wasting a ton of money, unless they're getting it all free. Mike Cox, Big Mike Cox, Ohio State versus Michigan. He loves Ohio because Big Mike Cox lives in the Tampa, Florida area, but he's a Buckeye. He's from Cleveland, Ohio. Tomas, $60, cheaper to drink a few cups of coffee. Yeah, that's a lot of money for pre-workout. Ultimate Orange, Mike Cox. He's talking about it. It was actually the first pre-workout. It was in the early 90s, maybe even late 80s. I think the late Dan Duchesne, who was called the Steroid Guru, he formulated it. I can't remember the company that made it. It was supposed to have D-ball in it the first few batches. It had a ton of caffeine, yohimbine, all kinds of weird shit. And it wasn't – people were using it as pre-workout, but the term pre-workout didn't exist back then. And we didn't have pre-workouts again for at least another, I'd say 15 years. They sort of went with that. People didn't jump on that bandwagon and come out with pre-workout products as a product category until maybe like 15 years ago. They came back and they started becoming, they're huge. I mean, the two biggest selling types of products are pre-workouts and whey protein. Because pre-workouts, you know what they do. They get you all jacked up in energy and endurance. And whey protein is just a real fast-acting protein in a powder form you can mix up and drink very easily. So Roman Fritz, he was doing 18 units for the O. He said, well, what's that? A genotropin pen is 36. So he was doing a half a genotropin pen every day. That's a lot, man. How many percent you usually do per body part in a single workout? I would do more for larger body parts like legs or back. I would do usually for like legs or back, I would do 5 exercises each. So 3 to 4 working sets each. For something like shoulders or arms, even chest, I wouldn't do as many. I would say like 12 working sets for those. So I'd say around 12 working sets for the smaller body parts, more like 20 to 24 for the larger body parts. Favorite workout split, problem child. I've been doing the push-pull leg split for about 4 or 5 years now. I like it a lot. Because I get to hit the body parts more frequently. Don't do as much volume. Don't do as many different exercises. Like today for push, I did a standing press on like a T-bar rig, and that was sort of for chest and shoulders because it was sort of pushing out at this angle, like a landmine. They call them landmines. Did that. Then I did pec fly. Then I just did a couple sets of machine press. Then I did FST 7 sets of lateral raises with 30 seconds rest in between. Shoulder press, seated, another machine, seated close grip for triceps, like, about this far apart. And then I did push downs, and that was it. I did push downs. I did 4 sets this way and then 2 sets overhead on a cable, and that was it. So that's my favorite workout split. I did the bro split for years and years, like chest and biceps one day, legs the next day, shoulders and triceps, and then back. So I would do I trained 4 days a week on a split. It's very similar to that for many, many years. Lately, I'd like push-pull legs a lot. It messed up your shoulders. It's just wear and tear. Just 40 years of training. They're always grinding away. Probably I went too heavy. My form wasn't always great. So it was a cumulative thing over years and years. Volume guy, heavy duty. I've done both. I've gotten results with both. So I don't think one is vastly superior to the other. Whatever, if you're someone who doesn't or can't recover well, meaning you have a physical job or you have a lot of stress in your life, you're not able to get a lot of sleep, you're not able to eat, 5 or 6 meals a day, you probably shouldn't be doing high volume because you don't have the resources available to recover. Your body just doesn't have what it needs. So in that case, the shorter, intense, the brief workouts with more rest in between, probably a better idea for you. What's worse, 18 U of GH or 10 Anadrol a day? Well, the Anadrol will fry your liver. 18 IU of GH, yeah, you can have problems. You can get insulin resistant. You can turn diabetic. You can get carpal tunnel syndrome. You get acromegaly. But the Anadrol, 10 Anadrol a day, that's 500 milligrams of an oral steroid a day. That is horrible for your liver. It's going to trash your liver. Within a couple of weeks of that, I would think your liver would start showing serious damage. No, I'm not doing any pec dances. Come on now. Any tips on getting more depth on a hack squat? Go lighter. Yeah, either go lighter or you might have a fear thing where you're afraid of going all the way down. In that case, I would have someone spotting you and they can just give you that little boost if you're stuck at the bottom. Because a lot of people don't go low enough because they know from experience, I'm going to get stuck there. So if you have someone there, so either do that, either have a spotter to give you that little boost out of the bottom or go lighter. Because a lot of times you can go very heavy, but if you go past parallel, you don't have the strength in that very bottom range of motion to get out of it. So those are my 2 ideas for that. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. It's been an hour and 18 minutes now. Woo! When you think of Body Masters equipment, I love it. So no more questions. If you have them, leave them in the comments. I'll come back to the comments and answer them. So don't leave them there. Put them in the comments below the video. I will come back to this later and, as the days go by and go to that. So please, guys, subscribe to the channel again if you didn't. Like the video if you liked it, the thumbs up. Share it on your platforms if you liked it, please. Appreciate it. I want to build this channel up and start bringing back really good content, going way beyond this, just, me talking stuff, of course. Getting back to really good stuff, maybe even contest coverage at some point. We'll see. But appreciate your support so much. Have a very awesome and blessed weekend, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.